In 2018, the AAMC published an article titled "Addressing the Escalating Psychiatrist Shortage." In the article, a depressed young woman calls a psychiatrist. Rather than being seen right away, she has to wait a week for her appointment. More people are seeking mental health treatment, but there aren't enough psychiatrists to meet the demand. Psychiatrists are doctors who focus on a patient's mental health. In this video, we will go over what a psychiatrist is, how to become one, what kind of money they make, and whether you should become a psychiatrist in 2020. Coming up. Hey everyone, Stephen Hack here with CareerWatch, where we help you with your career search. If you end up enjoying the video, hit that thumbs up to support the channel. I also offer consulting services, more information in the description below. A psychiatrist is a medical doctor who specializes in mental health, including substance abuse disorders. Psychiatrists diagnose and treat mental illnesses through a combination of psychotherapy, psychoanalysis, hospitalization, and medication. What is psychotherapy? Psychotherapy involves regular discussions with patients about their problems. Psychiatrists help them find solutions through changes in their behavioral patterns, explorations of their past experiences, or group and family therapy sessions. Unlike psychologists, psychiatrists can order a full range of medical lab tests and psychological tests. They also have the ability to prescribe medications to correct chemical imbalances that cause some mental illnesses. The road to becoming a psychiatrist is long and hard. Few occupations require as much education. You need to graduate with a bachelor's degree from an accredited university, get into med school, graduate from medical school, and then go through a residency program before you become a psychiatrist. This can take a long time and a lot of money. On the R Psychiatry subreddit, Sweet P. McGee recounts his journey towards becoming a psychiatrist. Medical school is hard to get into. You need top grades and a good MCAT score. Volunteer work, great letters of recommendation, great essays, and research helps too. My MCAT score sucked, so I went to a Caribbean medical school, which was easier to get into, but very expensive. Medical school is very intense, even in the Caribbean. They compare the learning to taking sips from a fire hose because so much information is thrown at you and you can only retain so much. My advice? Do not become a doctor unless you cannot picture yourself happy doing something else. Med school and residency were the hardest times of my life emotionally, physically, and mentally. There were times when I wondered if I made the wrong choice. I wondered if I was smart enough and good enough to hack it. I made it out with astronomical debt, but I made it, finally. Medical debt is extremely common. According to Credible.com, the average medical school debt in 2020 is $232,000. Also, during residency, doctors make a fraction of what they will eventually earn out of residency. During those years, interest on the debt grows. But luckily, psychiatrists are doctors, and doctors tend to make good money. Unfortunately, for psychiatrists, they are a bit lower on the totem pole regarding pay among doctors. This first chart is showing physician compensation in 2020. All of this data is straight from Medscape's Physician Compensation 2020 report. This is across 28 medical fields. Psychiatrists' total compensation came to $268,000 per year in 2020. This is extremely high compared to other occupations. Compared to physicians, though, it is the 7th lowest. Psychiatrists are vastly out-earned by doctors in fields such as orthopedics, plastic surgery, cardiology, and radiology. But psychiatrists do out-earn doctors in family medicine, infectious diseases, and internal medicine. Of all the fields, doctors in orthopedics make the most, with a staggering average compensation of $511,000 in 2020. Which brings us to one of my favorite myths. There are many articles talking about falling physician incomes. The Medscape Physician Compensation 2020 report isn't showing that. I actually gathered data from the 2019 report so I could calculate the wage growth between 2019 and 2020 among different kinds of physicians. Psychiatrists saw a very healthy wage growth of $8,000 between 2019 and 2020. Only 3 medical fields didn't post a wage growth between 2019 and 2020. Dermatologists saw their pay shrink on average by $8,000. Physicians working in diabetes and endocrinology saw no change in their pay. And I'm going to butcher this word. An otolaryngologist saw a $6,000 wage loss. The other 25 fields saw wage increases. Physicians working in orthopedics saw a staggering $29,000 raise between 2019 and 2020. Immunologists saw a $26,000 wage increase. The vast majority of medical fields are earning far more money every year, according to the data. The data from Medscape I just showed you was total compensation. The government does things a little differently. They calculate base pay. This is from the Bureau of Labor Statistics, and it currently only goes up to 2019 rather than 2020 in the Physician Compensation Report. In 1999, they recorded the average base pay for psychiatrists at $103,000 per year. By 2019, the average base pay had increased to $220,000. So average base pay for psychiatrists increased by $116,000 from 1999 to 2019, basically more than doubling. This comes out to an average yearly wage growth over this time period of around $6,000. The compensation is also dependent on the region of the country. Again, using the government data, here's a list of the highest paying states for psychiatrists in 2019. The fifth highest paying state is the state of Indiana, the Hoosier state, where the average base pay is $245,000 per year. Fourth highest will be the state of South Carolina, also known as the Palmetto State, where the average base pay is $246,000 per year. Number 3 on the list is the state of Alaska with an average base pay of $248,000. Number 2, the state of New Jersey, also known as the Garden State, around $252,000. And the highest paying state for psychiatrists on average is the state of California, also known as the Golden State, with an average base pay of around $260,000 per year. Psychiatrists have really great pay, just not relative to some other physicians. Another big reason to become a psychiatrist in 2020 is the current shortage going on. According to the National Institute of Health, 1 in 5 adults in the United States experiences mental illness in a given year. Physician recruiting firm Merritt Hawkins reports that psychiatrists were second on the list of most requested recruiting assignments. And in 2017, approximately 14 million adults reported an unmet need for mental health services. On the Our Psychiatry subreddit, one Redditor writes the following: "Psychiatry is one of the most underserved specialties in the US. The wait lists for my patients to see a good psychiatrist are quite long. They are not lacking for referrals. A psychiatrist can practice anywhere he or she wants. It may be one of the most wide open job markets in medicine, possibly second only to primary care. I actually looked on Indeed and found 8,361 job postings for psychiatrists around the United States. This doesn't sound like a lot until you realize how many psychiatrists are actually currently employed. In 1999, there were around 18,000 employed psychiatrists. By 2019, this had risen to about 26,000 employed psychiatrists. There are almost 9,000 job postings for psychiatrists, meaning there is an extreme shortage going on. And the issues don't stop there. More than 60% of practicing psychiatrists are over the age of 55. This means that many will retire over the next 10 years. There will be even greater demand for psychiatrists to support veterans as they come back from overseas. Medical schools are simply not churning out enough doctors and eventual psychiatrists. So who should become a psychiatrist in 2020? Medscape did a survey of psychiatrists trying to find what they liked about their jobs. The highest response was knowing that I'm making the world a better place. Number 2 is gratitude and relationships with patients. Number 3 is kind of being awesome at what I do. 4 is making good money, and then teaching, and then pride associated with being a doctor. The same survey also looked at what psychiatrists tend to find challenging. Like many other doctors, they hate all the rules and regulations associated with medicine. They dislike dealing with difficult patients. They aren't fans of the EHR systems. Long hours can be common, and getting fair reimbursement from Medicare patients can be quite challenging. Interestingly, only 5% are concerned with being sued. I definitely would not have thought that. Based off malpractice news, you would think doctors would be very concerned with being sued. Psychiatry is a high-paying field with lots of job opportunities. Many psychiatrists have a lot of student loan debt, but many find the occupation extremely rewarding and challenging. I hope this video helped you. Are you interested in becoming a psychiatrist in 2020? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.